Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the first video of Calisthenics 101. The reason why I'm doing this video is essentially, at least in Australia, there are a lot of new athletes on the scene and the sport is growing and evolving and it's amazing. But at the same time, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet and I see a lot of people making the same mistakes that I was doing 5 years ago, 7 years ago when I started the sport. Additionally, there's not that much information, or well, I think it's quality information out there, because a lot of people want to save that for their coaching and that's their value offering. However, I don't do coaching anymore, and so I can give it to you for free. Now, on that note, if there is content or ideas you want me to cover in subsequent videos, please tell me in the comment section and I'll make sure to address it in the future. The topic for today is diet, nutrition, and the myths surrounding bulking and cutting. Now, this is a really important topic because it is the core of your training, because we do a body weight sport. If your body weight increases, your body is harder to perform the sport, and if you can maximize your body weight in the long term in a way that feels good and healthy, then obviously you're going to get better results. Additionally, diet is the foundation of recovery and the returns that you build after you've done a long training. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is firstly cover the myth around bulking and why 90% of people it's a bad idea, and then I'm going to talk about nutrition generally. So, turning to bulking, what is it? Bulking is an idea that has been developed from bodybuilding, right? The idea is you eat a surplus amount of calories so that you can bulk up, you get a bit more fat, but you get a lot more muscle, and then you cut it afterwards. And people believe bulking will make them stronger because with more muscle, you can generate more force and develop faster. Additionally, there are some ancillary benefits to recovery if you really are training a lot. Now, the reason why people think this works is for that reason, but also there are quite a number of social media influencers, A, in the bodybuilding world, but also B, in the calisthenics world, who live and breathe and preach bulking as a great idea, when really it's not. I just want to make a caveat here. I'm talking exclusively about calisthenics progress when we're talking about skills. So I'm not talking about weighted calisthenics, I'm not talking about pull-up endurance, etc. I'm talking about planche, front lever, and variations of those moves, and then why bulking is bad. So, why does bulking mess up your calisthenics progress? Our sport is a skill sport. What that means is that we progress by improving our neuromuscular connection to the body and the rate, frequency, and intensity of our brain signals to our muscles. And we progress by improving the intensity and the frequency of our signals and normalizing that feeling in that position. Is the strength of our nerve signals. Now, we do this and improve these brain signals through 4 different mechanisms. Firstly, through specificity. We practice planche, we don't practice tuck planche, you get better results in training planche because you're teaching your brain to practice that move. In the same way, you would improve your piano playing scales by playing scales and not by just playing chords. You get better by doing the actual thing you want to improve at. Secondly, through volume. You know, it's the amount of times you practice throughout the day and throughout the week. Thirdly, the intensity that you do it, so you're training your brain to send stronger signals. And fourthly, psychology, which also goes to the brain signal part of it. But if you believe you can do something, your brain signals are stronger because you have the confidence behind it. Now, in addressing these mechanisms, you have to understand that bulking affects every single one of these for different reasons. So firstly, when you are bulking, you can't be as specific because planche now becomes too difficult. You have to regress into a straddle, maybe an advanced tuck planche, which means you're not teaching your body how to planche. You're not actually progressing on that skill. In the worst case scenario, you see some influencers saying, don't do calisthenics while you're bulking, do weights instead, and you'll get stronger, which is so far removed from the mechanism of specificity that you're not going to progress in that respect. I mean, on the point of volume, arguably, there's a case where you can say when you're eating more, you've got more fuel, you've got more energy, you can get more volume in your sessions and throughout your week because you're recovering better. That is true, but what people don't consider when they make that argument is the fact that when you bulk and you gain weight, you are putting much more strain on your tendons, which means your body actually, whilst your muscles are recovering faster, your tendons can't, and they're actually having more load put on them, which means your volume actually goes down, or else you will cause an injury. Thirdly, on the topic of intensity, this kind of goes hand in hand with psychology. But if you feel weak, or if you feel heavy, which is obviously what you feel when you're bulking and gaining weight, you can't feel your body feels like it can't push as hard. Firstly, because your body can actually has nerve receptors in your tendons and around that area that knows that it is more painful. But also, I mean, part of it is like a trope that you see on social media with all the athletes being light and seeming light, but you know that if you feel heavy, you don't feel confident approaching it, and so your brain doesn't push as hard in that movement. Additionally, in the likelihood that you do get injured, that just makes it all the more harder to progress in calisthenics. And I would posit that if you are bulking, you increase your risk of injury, especially in lever movements, because of the strain you are putting on your tendons. So as a result, you are likely to fail, you're likely to injure your tendons, and then going forward, you can't push as hard. And pushing as hard is so important because it removes all your capacity. If you think about it, if you've ever rolled your ankle, think about it, how hard it is to sprint at full force. Your body actually can't put pressure on it. The same thing applies if you've injured your wrist, if you're injured your elbow, or even your shoulder. You can't actually put your intensity into the movement and train it effectively. Now, at the start of this video, I said bulking doesn't work for 90% of people. When does it work? Because we clearly see athletes like Harvey Lattori and Bruno Focacci, who are pretty chunky dudes, and they're amazingly strong. If you want bulking to work, there are two requirements you need to satisfy. Firstly, you need to have already strong tendons, and you can't sacrifice specificity in your training. These athletes have been training for probably 5 to 7 years, longer than I have, that's for sure. And so their tendons can handle the load. Additionally, they already have 777 in terms of their volume. So if they get really chunky, yes, they have to pull back and regress, but their regression is still like a 444, which means they don't have to sacrifice specificity. They don't have to change the skill that they're doing. Rather, they're just increasing their load and giving them more fuel to increase their volume. And I think that if you are an elite athlete, it's probably worth checking it out. I know my friend Leanne in Malaysia has had some really great results at the elite level with bulking. But taking all this aside, you're starting out, or even if you've been doing it for 3 to 5 years, what should then you be focusing on in terms of your nutrition? And I focus on nutrition here because diet has connotations of it being temporary. Now, with calisthenics, generally, you want to be light. And how do you achieve this? Not through cutting, because cutting is associated with first bulking, cutting is also B, impermanent, and C, when you cut, you usually do it much more drastically in a way that makes you feel weak and actually can't put intensity into your trainings. If you want to be light, you got to do it in a way that is sustainable, and you got to focus on making changes to your lifestyle that are sustainable over the long run. Now for me, this has been, I only train 3 days a week, so I've been throwing in some cardio that I've been enjoying running around in the sun. But even if you want to train more frequently, you could walk more during your lunch breaks. You could cut out a meal that you feel like you don't need. And I would note on this topic, you might feel hungry for the first week, but your ghrelin hormone response can adapt within a week. And so it doesn't really bother you for most people. It just requires a little bit of commitment at the start. You could change what you have for dessert. That's what I've been doing. In the past, I would have ice cream, I would have pudding. Now, look, people mess with me for eating all bran, but don't knock it. If you microwave Biscoff over your all bran, it gets coated and it has like a really good crunchy texture, but like it's hot and it has a really good Biscoff flavor. That's what I've been doing. It's got much less calories and it satisfies a lot of the fiber that I need to have a good digestive system. The point I'm making here is that these changes shouldn't be hard. They should be things that are sustainable, that you notice over, maybe 3 months, you go, oh, wow, I lost 2 kilos. If you do that for an entire year, you'll become shredded, you'll feel lighter, and you'll feel stronger, like the athletes that you aspire to be like. Now, I think I've covered everything I want to cover, and that concludes my video. But if you have any questions, please shoot them in the comments or reach out on Instagram. And if you have any other topics you want me to cover, I'll do some thinking. Otherwise, shoot them in the comments and I'll try to get around to them. Thanks a lot. Have a great Sunday.